Now these are some questions from quantitative analysis. Just a quick review of the key. First thing, after every statement you will have two values. The first column would be quantity A, the second column would be quantity B. And then the key goes like this. If you see that quantity A is greater than quantity B, we say the answer is A. If you see that quantity B is greater, we say the answer is B. If they're equal, we say it's C. And if there's not enough information, it's D. Now what we have here is a series, and the first quantity A, is the sum of the first 23 terms in the series, and quantity B is a fixed value, which is 550. Now if you notice, this is an AP. There's a common difference of 2. So I can use the formula for AP to find the sum of 23 terms. The shortcut formula was you take the average of the first and last term and times n. Right? The first term is going to be 2, the last term is going to be the 23rd term, because our series for this part goes up till 23. I'll have to find the last term. The last term is going to be A plus 23 minus 1D. It's n minus 1D, so the last term actually is 2 plus 22 times 2, because the common difference is 2. So therefore the last term is 2 plus 44, and that's 46. Now you could have found this without this computation as well, because it's pretty obvious. This is 2 times 1, this is 2 times 2, so this is 2 times 3, and so on. So this 23rd term is going to be 2 times 23, which is 46. So either ways, the last term is 46. We take the average of these two and times 23. And I take the average, that's 23 times 48 upon 2, which is 24. Now we have to compute 24 times 23. If you can't do this mentally, what you can do is you can break these into simpler values by taking tens and units separately. These are equivalent. Just open the bracket, that would be 400 plus 80, then 60 and 12. So that's 480 plus 65, 40, 552. So this quantity is 552. This is just 550. So clearly quantity A is greater. Hence the answer is A. Now same series, but in 387 they're saying find the sum of all the terms in this series, basically from here till here. Again, you can use the term formula to find the number of terms, but again it's pretty obvious this is going to be the 50th term. If you want to use the formula, that would be 100 equals A plus n minus 1D. We have A as 2. We don't know n, and D is also 2. So if I solve for n, 98 equals 2 times n minus 1. N minus 1 is 49, hence n is 50. So there are 50 terms. This is verifying that. Now we have to find the sum of these 50 terms. So that's again A plus L upon 2. Now A is the first term. The last term is 100, because we're taking all the terms, average into 50. That's 50 into 102 upon 2. That's 50 into 51. Again, you can break this into 50 into 50 plus 1. Open the bracket, that's 50 times 50, which is 2500, and 50 times 1, which is 50. So that's 2550. So this quantity is 2550, which is also quantity B. So they're equal, hence the answer is C. Now these are some questions where you have to be extra careful, because when they ask you for the median, you have to find the middle value, but after arranging the set, after sorting the set. So if I sort set D, I know that x and y both are more than 24. So the least value I see is 13, then I see 17, 22, 24, and x would be at the end because it's greater than 24. For set E, again I know y is more than 24, that's going to come at the end. So again 13, 17, 20, 24. If you look at these two sets, they're almost similar. It depends on x and y. If x and y are equal, they're exactly same sets. But if x and y are different, they're different sets. Now what we have to find, what we have to compare rather, is the median of set D and set E. So if I look at these two sets, there are 5 values each. If you have 5 values, the median position is 5 plus 1 upon the third value. So the third value is the median value. For this one is 22, for this one it's also 22. So that's 22 compared to 22, which we know is equal, hence C. Now these are same sets but a different statement. What we know now is that y is less than 17 and x is greater than 17. And we again have to compare the medians. So first I'll rearrange the sets. Since x is more than 17, I'll have to write 13, 17, and x 22, 24. Now x can be here as well, x can be here as well, but it just has to be ahead of 17. Okay, if I talk about set E, what we know is y is less than 17. So first I'll write 13, then I'll write y, then 17, then 22, and then 24. Now again, y can be here or here. It depends on the value of y. Y is less than 17. It can be less than 13 as well. So either ways, it's just behind, it's just before 17. Okay. Now what we have to compare is the median. Now if I look at the median of D, it can be x or it can be 22. Because if 22 is less than x, I'll write 22 first and then x, which makes this the third value. So it's either 22 or x. And if I talk about median of set E, that's clearly 17. So this value is 17. This is x or 22. But what we know is that x is more than 17. So in either of the cases, median of set D is greater. It's whether it's x or 22, both values are greater than 17. Hence, the answer is quantity A greater than quantity B. Now we have the same sets but with some more information, and that is the ranges of these two sets are equal. Now range is basically the spread. It's the greatest value minus the least value. Given this information, we have to compare the medians. Now for the median, we always sort the set. But the problem is we don't know what x and y are. Now they can be on the extreme ends, the least values or the greatest values. Let's say x is here, y is here, and we have 13, 17, 22, 24. 13, 17, 22, 24. Now, if x and y are on extreme ends, they have to be equal. Because if they're not equal, the spread will vary. The difference between these two values will be different. I want that to be the same. So if x and y are on extreme ends, it can be the lower end or the upper end. They have to be equal, but only if they're on extreme ends. Now this is one possibility. If I look at this possibility and find the medians, again it's going to be the third value. So in this case, the median is equal for both, which is 17. In the second possibility, the median is also equal, which is 22. But this is a situation where we have x and y on extreme ends, but there is a possibility that they're not on the extreme ends situation. So you have to find all the possibilities and then give the final decision. So I've already found a contradiction to this one where I said they're equal. So it's not really C, because there is a possibility that they're not equal. One of them is greater. Now if they're not on the extreme ends, 13, 24, now x can be anywhere in between. Right? Similarly, for set E, y can be anywhere in between. In this case as well, the ranges are going to be equal. But the problem is we don't know where x is. If let's say x is less than 17, if x is less than 17, then I would have x first, then 17, then 22. And there's a possibility that x is less than 17 but y is more than 17. That's a possibility. So that would be 17, y, 22, 24. So if I find the median in this case, that's 17 compared to y, which is not equal. So I already have a contradiction to the previous other one, which is one possibility. And there are many more cases like these. I can just reverse the situation to say that it's 13, then 17, then 22, x 24. And let's say that's 13, y, 17, 22, 24. That's also a possibility where x and y are in between. Even in this case, the ranges are equal. But the position of x and y also varies. If they're at the same position, only then the median is going to be the same. If they're at different positions, the medians are going to be different. So the thing is, I cannot conclude from here. Because when I change the position of x and y, the decision varies. So we don't know much, hence the answer is D. Now again the same sets, but now they're talking about the modes of the two sets. They're telling us that the modes are equal. Now mode is the most frequent value. If you look at these values currently, this is what we have. Now if there is a mode, there has to be a repetition in the value. There has to be a value which is repeated. Now if I have a mode, it actually means x is actually one of these. X can either be 13, 17, 22, 24. Now whatever x is, that is going to be the mode as well, because that is the value which will appear twice. Similarly, in the second case, again, there is no repetition currently, but I can pick a value of y such that it's from here, and then I will have some repetition, and that value of y would be the mode of set E. Again, it can be 13, 17, 22, 24. So we're actually comparing x to 12. Given this information, we're comparing x to 12. Now these are the possible values x can take. And we're comparing it to 12. Now if you look at these values, whatever x is, it's more than 12 for sure, because there's no option equal to or less than 12. Hence, this is always going to be greater than 12. Therefore, the answer is D. Now the next three questions are not based on data. It's not on averages. It's based on combinations, possibilities, arrangements, and probability. So we will discuss this in detail later. I'll just do these three questions, and let's see how this goes. Now what we have is an experiment in which a coin is tossed 3 times. Now I hope we know that when you toss a coin, the outcomes are head or tail. So when you're tossing coin 3 times, there are 3 values in each outcome. It's either a head or a tail, head or tail, head or tail. Now what they're saying is number of possible outcomes containing exactly 2 heads. Now if I list down all the possible outcomes, that's basically head, head, tail, because there are 3 tosses. So it can be tail on the last one and first 2 heads, or it can be head, tail, head, or it can be tail, head, head. Right? So basically there are 3 possible outcomes in which you have exactly 2 heads. So this is 3. Now the second quantity B, is number of possible outcomes containing exactly 1 tail. Now if you understand the situation, you have 3 outcomes. There are 3 values in every outcome. It's either head or tail. If you have exactly 2 heads, it actually means there's exactly 1 tail. So what you have here is just a different form of quantity A, because there are 3 values in every outcome. If 2 of them are heads, the third one has to be tail. And if you list them down, if you try to list values for this one, that would be tail, head, head, the only tail on the first one, the only tail on the second one, the only tail on the last one. And these are the same as these. So these are also three possibilities. Hence the answer is C. But you didn't need to do this because it's the same thing said in two different ways. Now it's the same experiment. A coin is tossed 3 times. The first quantity is total number of possible outcomes. So I'll have to list all the outcomes. There's a shortcut to find that as well. But if I list them, that would be all heads is a possibility. It can be head, head, tail. It can be head, tail, head. It can be tail, head, head. It can be tail, tail, head. It can be tail, head, tail. Or it can be head, tail, tail, and all tails. So I went in order. I start off with 3 heads, then I went on to 2 heads, then I came to 1 head, and then no heads. So this is just the listing process. If I count these outcomes, these are 8 different outcomes. So I'm comparing 8 to 5, and that's clearly quantity A greater. Now this was the listing approach. There is an easier method to find this, which is in every trial we have 3 values. So for the first trial, we have 2 possible outcomes. So there are 2 possibilities for the first one, and basically is multiplication. You have 2 possibilities for the second one, head or tail, and you have 2 possibilities for the last one. So that is also the number of possible outcomes. 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So you can use this shortcut, which we will discuss later in detail, or you can go for the listing approach. This is listing, and this is the shortcut. Either ways, the total number of possible outcomes is 8, which is clearly more than 5, hence the answer is A. Now this is the last part. What we have here is the probability of tossing 3 tails. Now 3 tails is basically tail, tail, tail. Now we know that on every trial, probability of getting a tail is half. On every trial, it's either a head or a tail, both equally likely. So it's half for heads and half for tail. So if you're saying it's tail, tail, and tail, it's actually probability of tail for the first one, tail on the second, and tail on the third. That's basically half into half into half, and that is 1 by 8. So we're comparing 1 by 8 to half. Now it's the same numerator, but the denominator is greater here. When the denominator is greater for the same numerator, the fraction value is less. So in this case, the greater fraction or the larger fraction is half. That's quantity B greater than quantity A. Now to compute this probability, there is one more method, which is from the listing approach. Now in the previous question, we listed all the possible outcomes, which are these. Now there are total 8 possible outcomes. Out of these 8, what I want is the probability of tail, tail, tail. So if I look at these 8 outcomes, there's only one possibility of tail, tail, tail. That's a probability of 1 by 8. So you can use either of the approaches to find the probability, but the answer remains the same. 1 upon 8 is less than half,